But we should kill the beef because there's no more cowboys and Indians. Correct?
That's true.
Yeah, we should kill
It's
it.
the Cowboys and then no names. So I mean, there's nowhere to go with that.
Okay, that's enough. All right.
Hey, and we back. All right. Y'all, I want to welcome all of you to I Said All of That to Say. And right now, I'm going to say all of that to say we welcome my girl Chloe back in the house and my main man David.
What's up, T?
How y'all doing, man? How y'all excited to be here?
I'm excited to be here. I got a new job. I got more money, more problems.
All
Can't
right.
nothing stop me.
All right,
Look at
sounding
Chloe.
good. What's going on with you, David?
You know, all is well. If it's any better, Thomas, I don't know, man. You know,
tell you,
it's
know what I'm
it's
saying?
flowing.
Hey, man, I tell you like this, man. I can't call it. If I could, I might spoil it. You know, I never know, man. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to get right into our topics
Let's do it.
today. Man, I don't know how y'all are feeling right now, man, but Mr. Chappelle, Dave Chappelle cannot seem to keep out
Catch
of
a break.
trouble
You
with
know?
the LGBTQIA plus community. Believe me, I had to study up on that. It took a lot for me to get that right. I think I got it right. I get it right, Heath?
You good?
All right, good. For his latest special, The Closer.
Wow.
For those of y'all that don't know, The Closer is the third part in Dave's 3-part Netflix deals that he's had for with specials. And this one, he stated in the special that this was going to be the last time that he was going to say anything about the LGBTQIA plus community until they knew he knew exactly what they were laughing, that they were both on the same page on what they were laughing about. The special was controversy because he talks about it's known now that they feel that he's transphobic, and he's taken that and he's pretty much run with it. And a lot of the things that he was saying, as a viewer of comedy, I could see where that community was coming from and why they might feel that a lot of his things were transphobic. But I wanted to put it out there. I wanted to see how y'all view it. If you've seen it, David, how did you feel about it? How did it make you feel?
You know, I'll put it this way. Everybody's, how can I say this? Nobody's off limits when it comes to comedy, right?
Okay.
So I felt that, you know, you always hear about men, women, gays, lesbians, Jews, African Americans, or blacks. So in this case, I felt that it was fair play to toss a few jokes out there, but he went hard. He went hard in the paint.
He went all in.
So with that, you kind of wonder, okay, Dave, where's that energy coming from? What's behind it? You know, that you would go in that direction that hard. So I can see how it could be offensive. But the thing of it is that, you know what, still with him going that way, why is the community so upset? That's what I need to hear. Why are they so upset? What's the issue?
Well, I would just say that I didn't watch the whole presentation, but I did read up on some articles on some people's feedback on his show. And so there was one article where this African-American man was giving his perspective and how it affects him because he is part of the LGBTQ community and he has had to be made fun of since he was younger. He talked about how when he was in middle school, he was scared to go to school because he might get beat up and etc. So I think that, yes, comedy does play a role in that we make fun of everyone, but I do think that there has to be sometimes some sensitivity to some people, especially people who are saying that they've been, bullied throughout their life or this has some type of effect on them. So it is funny, but I do think that there are some people who may be sensitive because they're actually going through that and they're actually part of this community.
Yeah, one thing that I will say that it took me by surprise is Dave actually approached an angle that I've never seen anyone approach this angle before, where he was stating that as far as progression as a movement, as an Afro-American man, he's jealous because black people have not been able to keep their movement progressing as far as that community has been able to progress their movement. Now, this community includes everyone as far as people from all different races, but it seems as though he's taken issue with the fact that at the end of the day, they could fall back on their whiteness. And
Exactly.
have that where they fall right back into the majority and they're no longer a minority, and use the minority status of their community when they want to be offended, instead of actually listening to what someone is saying. I understand that as you said, there's a lot of things that you should not say. And yes, if everyone finds the joke funny, then it's funny. But if your joke is hurting someone,
Right.
then I can understand the difference. I'm a fan of Mr. Chapelle. Do I feel like he went about it correctly with all of it? Not all of it. Because I could see how someone just coming in from the outside of it. As a matter of fact, not to take it too long, but one of the one of the stories that he tells is about his one trans friend named Daphne. Daphne was a friend of his who he had known for some years, and Daphne was an inspiring comedian. He set Daphne up where she opened up for him, and she got a big shot by opening up for Dave Chappelle. That's a big deal. And he explains that one time he had her open up for a show, and she didn't do terribly well. And I can understand how folks would have gotten that confused, because we get on white folks that say that they got that one black friend that they want to overemphasize. He has that one trans friend that he wanted to overemphasize. And I think that a lot of things, unfortunately, due to some of the things that might have been discussed in other specials, kind of got lost. And it's just to the point now where that community doesn't even want to hear anything from Mr. Chapelle outside of maybe an apology. So
No, I agree, because I feel as though this is not Dave's first time making these jokes, and so that may be why it was kind of escalated, because he's had other stand-up comedies where he's called trans or gay people gross or it's inappropriate.
Yes.
So they are very sensitive to anything that he's putting out, because
Yes.
this is not the first time that
Yeah.
he's called them out. So it makes perfect sense as to why they would be upset, or it may be heightened more because it's him saying something.
now, but let me ask you this question real quick before Dave jumps in, and maybe Dave can help out with this. In this ever-changing community, because there's always letters being added, there's always something that's being changed. Where can people go and have a safe place to actually have questions? Because in a lot of ways, I feel handcuffed that I can't even ask questions without it being an offense, when I really just want to know. And I may not have a trans person in my life. I may not have, or even if I do, they might not be hip on what's going on now. Because there's so many things that are changing about the community. How can we come together and create a safe space where we can actually get the information that we need, Dave?
Yeah, you hit it right out the ballpark with that question, because I believe that there is a grievance culture that exists already in our society where everybody has a grievance. Now, I'm not saying what Dave said was right, but at the same token, when you have people who are complaining about what he said, do you laugh at nigger jokes? Do you laugh at jokes about women? What other things are you sensitive about when you want us to be sensitive to you? And I think it requires having a platform, again, where either we're going to say, you know what, certain types of jokes are not permissible, period. I don't want to hear black jokes. Anybody using the N-word, I don't want to hear that, right? Just as they may not want to hear about issues affecting them with their sensitivities. And so now we become such a grievance culture, and we're so sensitive about everything, again, until you say, across the board, we're not going to have these type of jokes or comments, right? It's fair play. And you can't be on the one hand sensitive and then laughing on the other hand, just like Dave brought out. You can't be on the one hand, you want to, let's say, when you have a grievance, be a white male.
And not
You
to be
know?
sensitive, you can't choose sides as to who you want to support. One of the things that Dave was saying is that it's okay for black men to get shot in America, but for the LGBT community, we're so sensitive about that, or he gets in trouble for things along those lines. So that's to your point that we have to be sensitive about everything, or promoting or talking about injustice in all types of areas. You can't just uplift the LGBT community and then the African American black community is just sitting over here and who cares about the jokes that are being made about us, or who cares that we're being shot in the street.
Absolutely. Because ultimately what it's doing, to your point, Chloe, is forcing an agenda. It's prioritizing what, certain communities don't say anything about them. Other communities, oh, what the heck, they die in the street. You can say anything about them. And that's what I don't like about this whole conversation, is that unless it's going to be fairness across the board for all, we can't pick and choose who's going to have a voice again. We get back to that question, who has a voice and who's being told to shut up, you don't matter.
So as comedians pertain, comedians have, for as long as there's been comedians, been allowed to say stuff that other people could not say because there was an attempt to make it all funny.
Yeah.
Do you think right now that it's fair for them to be policed the way that they're being policed? Or is this type of policing or this sensitivity or grievance culture that David was talking about, has that totally taken it over where you can't even express any original thought without possibly getting in trouble?
I think that's a hard question to ask because, again, like you said, everyone's sensitive right now, and then you also don't want to stand up for one community and then not stand up for the other community. But I also think, and I've stated this before, no matter your race, sexual orientation, gender, religion, whatever, you should be treated fairly and treated appropriately. But then there's the comedy space, and so comedy is always, like you said, going to be making fun of people, but how do we treat people appropriately across the board, but still realize that, we may poke fun and jokes here and there. So where comedians sit, maybe comedians should have conversations. I know this is kind of broad, but maybe they should have conversations with these different groups, LGBT community, African American black community, see what's appropriate to make jokes about, or see where there's room to have fun, as opposed to you're just out there spewing information. You don't know what's harming someone and what's not.
And really what this brings up is a critical issue about the psyche of Americans and people around the world. Why do we buy tickets to boxing matches and MMA? We want to see somebody beat the hell out of somebody else. And why do we buy tickets to see comedians? We want to laugh and hear them say something that we really feel in our hearts.
Right.
That we can't say.
That we can't say, then we laugh at it. That's a truth that we have to deal with, And so in as much as Dave is receiving backlash, if you really listen to what comedians talk about, they're saying exactly what a lot of us think and feel. To your point, we can't say, but we're going to laugh. We're going to buy that ticket. We support it.
Yep. Well, y'all, I feel like we've talked that thing to death. And I mean, I've said all of that to say that whatever you do, if you're attempting to be funny, but don't hurt anyone in the process. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to my girl, Chloe, who's definitely got something that we need to be talking about.
Yes, in terms of harming people and being sensitive to people's feelings.